Hello all, I hope you're doing well today. Conspiracy theories in the collective consciousness are seen as usually wacky beliefs by fringe types, the tinfoil hat types. Incidentally, I was reading this morning that the tinfoil hat comes from the Cold War era, people wearing tinfoil on their head to stop government brainwashing or Soviet brainwashing. And sure, that's getting a little bit wacky. There are other modern day examples akin to that. Maybe flat earth theory is more of a wacky one. Very few people are going to buy into that one. Then you get the more grey area, 50-50 ones, that really split the public down the middle. 9/11 would be a good example there. Personally, I can see strong arguments for both sides on that one. Then you get the ones that are seemingly very dodgy, that almost everybody knows something's gone on, but there's still a minority, a sizable one, that thinks it's all legitimate. I think the JFK shooting would be an obvious one fitting that bill. The JFK ones always seem quite dodgy to me. I mean, why would you have a US president going through a major thoroughfare so unprotected? Also, it's a very hard shot to make, so it seems to me it was done by a professional, or as many people believe there was a second shooter. And then, of course, the supposed shooter was killed by Jack Ruby, real name Jack Rubenstein. Make of that what you will. Of course, Jack Ruby never actually went to trial for shooting Lee Harvey Oswald, the supposed killer of JFK. Funny how things like that happen, isn't it, when there's a major story and they just seem to disappear. And talking of people just disappearing, it brings me on to the subject of this video, a conspiracy that you'd be mad not to believe. Of course, I'm speaking here of the Jeffrey Epstein debacle, and there have been so many twists and turns with regards to this. It's worth starting from the top to remind ourselves how insane the narrative is that the mainstream wants us to believe. For starters, Jeffrey Epstein is an unremarkable guy who was a school teacher and then almost overnight ends up being part of the investment bank Bear Stearns, and out of nowhere rises to the very top to be an advisor for wealthy clients. So from the top, a very unusual and highly suspect career path. However, through his financial advisory, he starts to rub shoulders with America's elite, which is essentially the world's elite, top financiers, even US presidents. Oh, and by the way, we now know that inside Epstein's New York apartment, he had various paintings of US presidents painted in unflattering and subordinate ways. Here's Bill Clinton, made to look like a woman in heels and a blue dress, and George Bush acting like a little boy on the floor with paper aeroplanes. Yet most famously, Epstein also ran a prostitution ring. Many of those prostitutes were underage girls. And the high and the mighty, the US politicians, the actors, all of the rich and famous were visiting his island on a regular basis. Not to mention, many of these surviving victims of Epstein's island have alleged that all of the rooms there were bugged, they had cameras and recording software, and so on. And famously, Epstein was once tried for child sex offences and found guilty, but given an unduly lenient sentence and even allowed day release 6 days a week. Famously after that, many of the rich and famous, the elite of the Western world, still decided to associate with him. Perhaps the most famous of all for this is Prince Andrew, who absolutely nuked his own reputation with that stupid BBC interview he did, showing how obnoxious and out of touch he and other elites really are. Peter Mandelson, this is less talked about, but he apparently had a close relationship with Epstein. Epstein apparently once said he had Mandelson on speed dial, even when he was in jail. Yet, of course, the most famous person emanating from Blighty connected to Epstein is Ghislaine Maxwell. She's now serving 20 years in jail for aiding and abetting Epstein in procuring minors. I'm sure many of you are aware as well that Ghislaine Maxwell was the daughter of Robert Maxwell, born Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hock, a Czechoslovakian Jew who became a British media baron. To dig a little deeper, Maxwell was known as a double agent, that is, pretending to be an agent for the Soviet Union while giving information to the British, and in later life, a triple agent, that is, giving all the information to Mossad. People allege this because Ariel Sharon, former Prime Minister of Israel, was at his funeral, which was held in Israel, and he was apparently given a hero's send-off for the work he'd done for Israel and the Jewish community. To be clear, I'm not levelling any accusations or promoting hatred to any group, just re-reporting information that's freely available in the public domain. Now, to bring all this together, we're supposed to believe that nothing funny was going on here. These elites were jetting off to Epstein's island on a regular basis, but none of them knew about his actions, even after he'd been found guilty in a court of law for underage sex offences. And when it all comes crashing down and Epstein is awaiting trial again, he mysteriously just kills himself. Oh, and by the way, the CCTV of his cell has just been erased by, technical errors. Because, you have the most high-profile prisoner in the world, and you can just lose him like you can lose a set of car keys, can't you? Yet it looked like sanity would be restored when Donald Trump was on his way back into power in 2024. He promised he would release the Epstein client list, tell us what had really gone on, release the flight logs. Well, let's see how that turned out.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Yeah, what are you? Anti-Semites? Tinfoil hat people? Jog on, won't you? I mean, the US Justice Department has found that there is no Epstein client list, and all the people that went to see him on his island were just going for a nice holiday, and Jeffrey Epstein probably killed himself because he was sad. A quote often credited to Abraham Lincoln regarding mass politics reads as follows: "You can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time." Now, this has pretty much been the working model for Western, quote, democracies over the past century or so. But it seems to me now, with cases like the Epstein issue, we're entering a new era of politics. What I mean is, we know they're lying, and they know we know they're lying. Yet they don't care that we know, because all that matters to them is the continuity of power. And in a way, part of me thinks that they like us knowing because it shows us that they can flex their muscles and have total control. Not to mention, the liberal media apparatus is so powerful in the Western world now, it gets most of us trapped in the spectacle of the perma-crisis, as well as modern mass media. I mean, look at modern movies, look at this big strong girl boss, isn't she amazing? Look how she towers over these stupid men. Yeah, that's it everyone, engage in a culture war, focus on that. Now, collectively, all of this speaks to a theme that's been rising on this channel in the past few months, and that's that we're at a changing time with regard to the power dynamic in the West. The smokescreen is starting to fall away, and people are seeing power as it truly functions. And sure, you can dive back into the hyper-real world, take the blue pill, to use the Matrix analogy, and just pretend everything is okay and normal. And it has been proven that many people out there, if they have a relative level of comfort and are left alone enough by the state, will just let things go on as they are. As long as they have Match of the Day, Love Island, they're all right. But I do think there is one issue that's cracking the power structure, and that's the state of the Western world, the state of Western civilization, where we're heading as a people. What's happening to the European origin people? Will we even survive? Existential questions like that make people look at the true state of things. So while some people will be hoovered up by the promises of individualism, materialism, status, hookup culture, and so on, more and more people are starting to see things as they truly are. But power is no longer pretending any longer. The smokescreen is gone, and it's more about flexing its muscles as it actually is. Now, this to me all implies a post-liberal world, a world of new borders, new psychology, new spirituality, new thinking. It's either adapt and evolve or be crushed. This is one reason why I started the second channel, The Sacred Way. It's all about realigning with tradition and personal and spiritual development for a new age. Do check that out down below if you're interested. Other than that, do let me know your thoughts on this, and do consider subscribing to the channel if you know.